Oh man, I am so excited. Have I got a surprise for you? We have got the electrician booked, we have got the plasterer booked, we have got the renderer booked. If there's ever a last chance to design our kitchen, this is it. Hiya folks, welcome back to the show and welcome to our kitchen. I am literally standing in the middle of our range. Our range should be over here. And this is really one of these key parts of the build where, as I say, we've got a lot of trades booked in to plough on now because, what have we got over here? Our bifold doors are finally in. They came good. It got a little bit shouty, but it wasn't too bad, you know. They're a good bunch of lads, but at the end of the day, we were told 4 to 6 weeks and it ended up taking 5 months. But such is life. We have got bifolds. These are, in case you're wondering, they are Exlabessa bifolds, and they're really nice. They seem to work really well. That kind of magnets onto the side there. We've got this little handly thing here. Yeah, this is the first time you're ever getting to see this. Very exciting. And they just fully open like that. And yeah, very, very happy with that. Does the job. It's taken long enough. I still need to put the little bit of extra floor down there. That's another job. I've got a million little jobs to do at the minute because, as I say, lots of trades are about to now spring into action because we've been waiting on these doors to go in before we can do the knock through. And now that the doors are in, we can do the knock through, get the plasterers in, renderers and all that. Anyway, as I say, the main thing I wanted to talk about today was kitchen design. We are no experts with kitchen design, but we have put a lot of kitchens in over the years, so we know the process. We know it's just a question of kind of sitting down, trying to imagine yourself in the space. And obviously when you're staring at a blank canvas like this, it can be difficult to decide what's going where. You know, things like lighting and positioning of appliances, that can all make such a massive difference. And although we can make some last minute kitchen decisions after all the plastering is done, which we will be doing that, by the way, but there are certain things that we've got to get right now because the first fix electrics have to go in, and that means that back boxes and cabling all need to be in the right places so that they're hidden away in cupboards or they're in convenient locations above the workbench. And for that reason, it is really important that you need to come up with a draft plan of how you're going to be arranging the whole space, because once all of this cabling is behind the plaster, then there's not a lot that you can do about it without making a big mess. So the first thing we like to do is to design the space on SketchUp. SketchUp is just a 3D modeling piece of software. It's more or less free. And if it's something that you're interested in learning how to use, I have made a series of videos explaining it from absolute beginner level, how to use SketchUp. And by the time you've worked your way through, there's only 4 or 5 videos or something like that. By the time you've worked your way through, you should be confident enough that you should be able to make 3D models like this. And it's over on the member zone. If you want to sign up on the member zone and subscribe on there, you'll get access to my little series of videos on SketchUp and a whole load of other videos that are on the member zone as well. Anyway, plug over. It is very, very quick to knock something like this together. I can probably put this together in 10 minutes or something on SketchUp once you know what you're doing. At this stage, when me and Mrs. Mac are sitting down and going through things, we're just really trying to take note of the key things that we want in. For example, we want an American style fridge freezer. And by the way, yes, we've blocked that window up. We've decided not to have it as a cut through. After all, the window is kind of behind here. We also want a range cooker, and we want the sink to be under the window over there. If you can kind of make out, there's the window looking out onto the garden. We maybe want some sort of peninsula or island. That's not set in stone yet. We might revisit that. Obviously, dining area over here, that through into the living room over there. And then looking out of the kitchen window, we've got, as I say, the sink here and dishwasher underneath the drainer side of the sink over here. Now, at this stage, we're not getting into the nitty-gritty kind of detail of exactly what units are going where. We're just kind of basing everything on 600 units. If you're not aware, the standard kind of width of a kitchen unit is 600 millimeters, about 600 millimeters deep, about 900 millimeters high, or thereabouts. So if you're working in those sort of dimensions, you know it's going to look vaguely correct. So we're working 600, 600, 600, a corner unit 600. We know that a range is about 900, so we've got a 900 gap there for a range, and then 600 units all the way around. And again, we looked into the dimensions of the fridge freezer. We know that needs to have about a meter gap across there. We'll be housing it in somehow. We haven't quite decided how that's going to work yet. Not that important at this stage. All we need to work out is where all the sockets and electric points are going. So from this stage, once we've kind of roughly worked out where everything's going, then what we do is we head over onto a proper kitchen designer application. And for this, we've just used one of the online websites where you can buy kitchens online. Just search online. You'll find most places where you can buy kitchens online, they have some sort of free kitchen designer app. And from that, you can start getting into the real nitty-gritty detail of exactly what units are going to go where and how it's all going to work. We've obviously got certain things set in stone here in terms of where the window opening is. We want the sink to be in front of the window, so that we know that's going to have to go there. We want a dishwasher next to it, so we know that the basin itself can't overlap onto that side because we need to get the dishwasher under the drainer side of the sink. Little things to consider as well, you know, are you left or right-handed? What side of the sink do you want your draining area to be on? So that's just a personal preference thing. We prefer the drainer to be on the right-hand side of the sink, but if you're left-handed, you might prefer it to be on the left-hand side of the sink. So from this, we worked out we're going to have the integrated dishwasher 600 wide there, 600 unit there. This is kind of an 1100 corner unit, but as you can see, it has like 130 mil gap at the side. So you need to take account of all of this and how it works. And that'll lead to a 600 unit over on this side. We've got the range, 600 unit, then another corner unit going around here, and then the fridge freezer. And then we've got, this is an 1100 corner unit here as well. So we've basically got corner unit, corner unit, corner unit, and then we've got it as a 500 unit on the end of that. At the moment, we've got a 400 unit marked up there, but well, I'll show you once you kind of see it in the kitchen. We don't think that's going to work too well, and we're probably going to revise that, maybe do it as a 300 or even some sort of 200 little unit there. You'll see why in a minute. But this gives you all of the pretty exact dimensions of how things are going to work in the kitchen. It's really quite impressive what you can do these days. You can do all of this yourself. We're complete control freaks, so we do generally prefer to do it ourselves. If you've never designed a kitchen before, I would suggest you sit down with a kitchen designer, because they will come up with things that you've maybe not thought of. But we've sat with enough kitchen designers over the years that we've got a generally a pretty good handle on what we want to go where and how we want the space to work. But anyway, you get the general kind of idea. We've got all the dimensions are all shown on there, and this is our kind of key thing that we're going to be working off at the minute. It will be going through further revisions, but this is enough to get the first fix stuff in. And from that point, what we like to do then is to head over into the actual space and mark everything up on the walls so you know exactly what's going where. And I personally think that until you've actually marked it up on the walls in the space, it's really difficult to decide for 100% what you're going to be doing. So for example, here's where the dishwasher is going to be going over here, basin here, and as I say, we were thinking of doing a 400 unit and then the corner unit, so that would bring a 600 unit out to here. That would have the end of the units here, and we want to have a little bit of an overlap for a kind of bit of a breakfast bar type thing. So that would mean that the worktop is going to run right up to the edge of this wall, a little bit too close to the bifold doors for our lighting. So what we would prefer to do is just to bring everything in a little bit, and that means having potentially a slightly smaller unit there, but we can make that decision later down the line, because other than this socket here, there is no electrics that needs to go in cupboards or anything like that. So we can change these units once the room's plastered, and we can make a definite decision on that later on. For the minute, I've kind of marked it out. I've shown where the 400 would go up to and where the 600 would go up to, but it probably won't be staying like that. It might do, but we'll see. As I say, then we've got dishwasher. We need a power point for the dishwasher. And by the way, on the plans where I've marked everything that's red needs power or is power related. So dishwasher needs power, range needs power, extractor needs power, fridge needs power. Obviously we've got light switches, sockets, all sorts of other things that need to be planned in. So the easiest place to put power for the dishwasher is under the sink over here. So we'll have a double socket under there. We could have potentially put it on this side, but because we're not 100% about this unit and how big it's going to be, it's a bit of a gamble putting the socket over on that side. You could also put it behind the dishwasher. It just makes access a little bit of a pain in the backside. So it's much easier, you know, if a fuse blows in the plug or something, it's much easier if it's plugged in over here. We're then going to have a corner unit over here, and as I say, on the plans it tells you how far in you need to consider. Although this is an 1100 corner unit, it ends up with like a 130mm gap over on this side for whatever reason. Obviously the white line, that's your 900 off the floor, so that's approximate workbench height. We've then got a 600 unit over here, and we've got the range. Again, I've allowed enough space so you've got a little bit of clearance either side of the range. But what we do need is a dedicated oven outlet for the range. It's going to be a 32 amp supply for that. So we'll probably put that in this cupboard over here. And then continuing our way around the room, we've got the corner unit over here. And we eventually end up to where the American style fridge freezer is going to go, which is there. That's obviously going to need its own power supply, so we'll just have a double socket in the cupboard next to it over there. And then working up to kind of upper level electrics, we're going to want a double socket just above the workbench here. That'll be kind of hidden away by the side of the fridge, so you'll not really be able to see it, but it's quite a handy place to have one. We are then going to have a double socket there and a double socket on that side of the room. And then again, working our way up the wall further, we need cabling in for outside lights. So there's going to be a cable going through the wall here to get to one of the outside lights. I've also marked on for the electrician where we want this to be switched from. So this will be switch number 1. Switch number 1 is over on this side here, because as you're going out of the bifolds, you want to be able to switch the lights on. So this is switch number 1. That basically controls 2 outside lights, one over on the left there that you saw, and this one here. So I've already drilled through, ready for the electrician, because I'm kind like that. Obviously, don't do any drilling through. If you don't know how electrics need to run in a house and you don't know the electrician, then let them do the drilling through, but our Sparky's happy enough for me to put the back boxes in. And then over here, we also need to cater for under cupboard lights as well. Now, I'm not entirely sure where our Sparky wants to run the cabling for under cupboard lights. I've just stuck a thing on the wall as a bit of a reminder that we need some sort of electric point somewhere for under cupboard lights. So we're going to have something over on this side. By the way, that is going to be another outside light on this side. This one switched from switch 2. Switch 2 is on the other side of the garage wall, just over here. So there is a hole drilled through for switch 2. But yeah, under cupboard lights, we also need something over on the left-hand side of the room here. All we really need to worry about at the minute is the stuff that's going to get covered up once the room's plastered. And remember, this isn't like 100% set in stone. The electrician's obviously coming out before the plasterer. So if the plasterer decides that, no, we can't put a socket there or whatever, then that's absolutely fine. They're all running 300mm from the end of the room, which I believe is the closest you're allowed to have them to the wall. But he might prefer them a little bit further along. That's fine. That's up to him. But at least if he's happy with everything, then we've got a good kind of head start. Oh, and obviously the extractor is going to need some power as well. So we've got a back box up there for the extractor fan. And we've also, I've marked out where I'll be core drilling through for the extractor vent pipe as well. And by the way, you also need to consider obviously your plumbing pipe work. So we're going to have gas and central heating and hot and cold water. They all are going to come in after the plastering's been done. So we're not going to hide anything like that behind walls because we don't really need to. They can run around the backs of cupboards absolutely fine. It's only really the electrics that has to go in the wall. But anyway, coming back to central heating, I would imagine some of you are thinking, oh, we're going to put some big, tall designer radiators in. And that was originally the plan. We were going to do a tall radiator over here and a tall radiator over here. Now, when we've gone through and worked out the BTU requirements of this room, it worked out that we needed roughly 10,000 BTU to heat this space. But that didn't take into account the crazy amount of insulation that we've got in the ceiling, and it didn't take into account our underfloor insulation and various other things. So I reckon 8,000 BTU will probably be absolutely fine for a space like this. And although vertical radiators can look really nice, the problem is that they use up an enormous amount of wall space. So for example, over here, we know that we're going to have a unit and our piano against that wall somewhere. So it kind of limits us a little bit if we're going to have a radiator on that wall. So what we've decided to do instead, again, if we were to put a big vertical radiator here, we're going to lose a whole load of wall space. So we found a radiator that were just a bog standard, you know, double panel radiator. And this is, off the top of my head, I think it is 8,000 BTU. This radiator, great big heavy thing, 1400 wide. Unfortunately, it does mean that we're going to have to get rid of our little decorative brick. We'll cover that in a separate video, I think. We'll try and keep hold of it. But what we're going to do is we're going to put that radiator against this wall here, and we're going to box it in with a decorative cover, and then we can put shelving all the way up the wall here, like a bespoke shelving unit effectively, with the radiator hidden away at the bottom. You'll not even know it's there, and it just means we're not losing a whole lot of wall space. Ironically, it means that we needed to build a new jut a little bit further out. So you know how the wall juts out a little bit here? Well, it doesn't jut out far enough. The radiator would end up being too close to the corner of the wall. So what we're having to do is build a new jut over here. As an added bonus, it does give a nice route to run any electrics all the way from the boxing at the top of the room up here down to floor level, or even radiator pipes, so anything could run through that little section of framework there. So we're leaving it open for the minute, but before the plasterers come, I will shove some plasterboard on that, and then this whole wall will get dot and dabbed. We were thinking of framing it all out at the same level, but we'd rather not do that. We want to keep a little bit of extra space. There's no real need to do that. So we're going to just have a little return here to bring it back to the level of this wall here. You'll not really even see it because the fridge is going to be kind of here. we'll have this little return here, and it just gives that little bit of extra space for getting this big radiator against the wall. So doubtless things will change and we'll tweak the plans a little bit more over time, but hopefully that's enough that we've got all of the first fix stuff in the right place. So, as I say, the electrician is booked in. He'll be coming very shortly. We've got a whole load of extra work to do because shortly after that, well, in fact, pretty much at the same time that the electrician is here, the renderer is going to be starting outside. One of the considerations there is, do we have cables running outside during the rendering, or do we drill through after the rendering and risk damaging the render? There's a lot of things like that that you need to kind of weigh up the pros and cons of. A lot of it's outside your control because it just depends on when the trades can make it, because then literally the week after that the plasterers are booked in to get this whole space dot and dabbed, skimmed, plastered out, and then we'll have a proper blank canvas to work from. And that of course means that in the meantime our next big job is to do the knock through. Now that the bifolds are in, it means that this is a relatively warm space, and plus it's kind of April time, so things are starting to warm up a little bit as well. We don't have any central heating in here, obviously, at the moment. We can't really do that until the room's been plastered, but it is quite a snug, cosy, thermally efficient room. At the minute, with no heating at all, it's currently, what, 15 degrees in here? 15, 16 degrees in here with no heating whatsoever in early April. So it's perfectly livable. And as I say, we do have the wood burner in the living room anyway, and that kicks out a crazy amount of heat. For now, folks, if you do want to learn how to use SketchUp, remember you can head over onto the member zone. I'll include a link to that down in the description below. You can also follow this whole project at selfbuildextension.co.uk. If you've got any other comments or suggestions about kitchen planning and how you like to do things, who is your favourite company for buying kitchens from? What online kitchen planners do you like using? Pop it down in the description below. Remember, if you post a link, it'll get quarantined, but I will release it, providing you're not too spammy. As per usual, take care, folks. Look after one another, and we shall see you next time. Tatty bye.